Everyone, welcome back to WikiLeaks Sports for March 21st, 2025. Good jam-packed show for you as always. We're going to start off with a little bit of NFL news. We got some proposed rule changes to bring us into the weekend on. Then Jack is going to join me to talk a little bit about the NBA, give us an Eastern Conference update, what's happening there, and then we'll round it out with Chris Uminski talking to me about the opening series in Tokyo with his beloved Cubs, who unfortunately got swept by the Dodgers there, but a lot of good stuff to talk about with Chris. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So each year, NFL teams are allowed to submit proposals to rule changes. And this year we have 3 rule changes that were proposed. In order for them to pass, all proposals must be approved by 75%, 24 of the 32 owners. So here is what we have. From the Detroit Lions, they want to amend Rule 8, Section 4 to eliminate an automatic first down as a penalty imposed for defensive holding and illegal contact. So the way it works right now, even if it's like, say, 3rd and 20, the offense goes back to pass. There's holding on a defender, incomplete pass. Instead of it being replay 3rd down, now it's 3rd and 15. It is an automatic first down, and you're only advancing 5 yards when you needed to get 20 yards in order to get a first down. So I personally think this is a very reasonable request from the Lions. I do think that for a 5-yard penalty, not a pass interference penalty, which is of course like a spot foul, it is a little bit extreme. You're not going to have like holding on the offense, automatic 4th down, right? He's just back up 5 yards. I do think it's a bit extreme to have it only be a 5-yard penalty and an automatic first down. Maybe if you want it to be an automatic first down, it should be a spot foul or like a 10-yard penalty, something like that. So what do you think? Do you agree that the Lions have a legitimate point here and that this should not be a first down automatically? Or do you think myself and the Lions are off base? Let me know in the comments. Then the Green Bay Packers are proposing to amend Rule 12, Section 1 to prohibit an offensive player from pushing a teammate who is lined up directly behind the snapper and receives the snap immediately at the snap. This is, of course, trying to legislate out the tush push. So the Eagles have been extremely successful, and they just added A.J. Dillon, so they're probably going to be even more successful at the tush push. It's been, for me, something that I always bet on Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown every week, and most weeks that pays off because of the tush push, because they're able to get between 1 and 4 yards very consistently with this lineup. Other teams are saying it's unfair. I think the unfairness might come about because, it's a formation that if it wasn't, a short yardage thing, I don't know if it would necessarily be legal. People can debate that. People who know the rules around formations better than I can chime in there. But I think teams are just so sick of the Eagles being so good at it and being really the only team that can do it. So they're trying to outlaw it. I don't think it's going to get outlawed. I don't think it should, but maybe if the Eagles win a couple more Super Bowls because of it, it will in the future. But let me know, do you think the Green Bay Packers are right in wanting the tush push to be taken out of the game, or do you think they're being a little bit of sore losers when it comes to having to defend the tush push? All right, finally, the Philadelphia Eagles, the team that does the tush push, has proposed to amend Rule 16, Section 1 to align the postseason and regular season overtime rules by granting both teams an opportunity to possess the ball regardless of the outcome of the first possession, subject to a 15-minute overtime period in the regular season. So we've come a long way from how overtime was when I first started watching football, right? It was sudden death, and in the postseason just went until you had a winner. In the regular season, you had just the 15-minute quarters, but a field goal could win it. Then people were like, that's lame. If you kick a field goal, the other team should get a chance to possess the ball. They can win on a touchdown or tie with a field goal, and then it's sudden death. Then people were like, well, if you can win on a touchdown, the other team doesn't get to touch the ball. That's also lame. And we saw in the playoffs that happened to the Bills against the Chiefs in that really epic back and forth playoff game. So for the playoffs, it was amended to be like, you score a touchdown, the other team can possess the ball, then it's sudden death. And in the regular season, the rules are still, if you score a touchdown, it's over. The other team doesn't get a chance to match it. And it's only like 10 minutes long. So like you have like more ties, I feel like now than before, just because there's like almost no time in overtime. So this would bring the overtime rules into closer alignment with the playoffs outside of the fact that if no teams score after 15 minutes, you end the game in a tie. And I think if the players are open to this, obviously longer games in these instances, then they should do it because like nobody wants to see a game end on a walk-off touchdown, even in the regular season, especially where you only get 17 games. They all matter so much. So I think this is a good potential amendment to the rules. Let me know what you think. Do you agree that this was a good one? And again, let me know about all of the rule changes. Chargers ones, I think is good. Packers, I don't think it's going to pass. I don't really care. Eagles, I think that's a good one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hey everyone, welcome back to At the Buzzer. I'm joined as always by Jack Tiernan. Jack, how you doing?
Brian, doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So Ryan and I talked about March Madness yesterday. I guess at the time of when this will come out, it's a couple days ago. So we're gonna shift focus back into the NBA and shift even more focus onto the Eastern Conference and kind of do a little pickup of where we're standing right now. So do you want to kind of take it from there? Give me your thoughts on the Eastern Conference as this season begins to really wind down.
Yeah, I think you covered it, right? We're kind of past the apex at this point. We're past the All-Star break. The playoff rosters, not even rosters, really, just the playoff standings are starting to sort of take shape. I think at a very high level, we have a team that is a clear juggernaut when it comes to at least the regular season. And there's a little bias showing there in the Cleveland Cavaliers. But I think from there, you've got a very clear 2 and 3. And I think pretty much everything after that is sort of a crapshoot, quite frankly. So I think obviously Cavs number 1, obviously Celtics, your reigning champions are number 2, but 6.5 games gap between the Cavs and the Celtics is a pretty big number. So sort of interesting to see the dynamic going into the playoffs and sort of what people are thinking about who is really going to go far and who frankly is going to come out of the East.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised because it's like, okay, in my head, it's like I know the Cavs are up on the Celtics, and then it's like, damn, the Cavs have been having a tremendous season.
Yeah, they have. I think I don't know how many winning streaks of 20 games, but they were like right there each time. I think what is nice to see is that 2 of those losses are to the Celtics, right? Well, they have 1 win on us, but if nothing else, at least we're built to compete against them. I do think, and I know they knew what they were doing, but when they acquired DeAndre Hunter from Atlanta, that was sort of like the guy you can either stick in as a spot start or like off the bench, that sort of like hybrid 6-man fringe starting player who can come in and be a 3-and-D type of guy, which obviously against the Celtics, who are like based on superstar wings, you need somebody who can come in and kind of shut that down. So it was very clear that was we're going to compete with Boston. That's what it comes down to. But yeah, I mean, 6.5 games up on the Celtics, who are also, I think we talked about it before we recorded, like they're 50-19 right now, right? So
they're having a great season in their own right.
They're doing okay. Yeah, they're doing okay. That's not a bad thing by any means. They've got some fairly, I don't want to say winnable games coming up, but they do. And frankly, when you're the Celtics or even when you're the Cavs, a lot of the games you're having are winnable games. So I think it's a matter of how are their paths going to meet in the playoffs? I think it's fairly set right now. I wouldn't be surprised if this was your Eastern Conference Finals. I think, frankly, like you're looking at New York, who plays pretty poorly against the Celtics. Again, as a Celtics fan, like that's what we see a lot of. I don't think the Pacers are great. I think that you'll look even at the 4, 5, 6 slot in the standings, and you've got Indiana, Milwaukee, and Detroit, surprise, I think that's a cool storyline to think about, and kind of where JB Bickerstaff has taken that team. You could argue that they should have won against Oklahoma City the other night. I will not die on that hill necessarily, but it did seem like, I mean, JB got fined. If you haven't seen that interview, highly recommend it. Go look at JB Bickerstaff's post-game OKC interview. He's like throwing things and like slamming on the table. He's like, if they just officiated us fairly, like it would be, we could have won. So the Shea foul baiting, I think, is starting to take sort of a toll on a lot of coaches. You know that there's discourse on it on NBA Twitter, which doesn't mean much, frankly. There's discourse on everything on NBA Twitter. But when it comes to the foul baiting that Shea is sort of doing, when he's a very talented player, and I think if you take that away from him, it makes him a lot more likable. So that's a little Western Conference pivot, Brian. But
I mean, Les, when the Celtics played the Thunder had 35 free throws. The Celtics had 12.
Yeah.
Like, it's a thing.
Is that going to be the same way in the playoffs? I think is the question. And if it is, do we have a Shea problem? Do we have a James Harden a la 2016 problem? You know, like that's, for me, that's, I said it then. I said it when Joel Embiid did the same thing when he plays basketball. I hate that style of play. It's just, it slows the pace down. It's not really fun. It's sort of like, okay, what, like, if this is my primary goal from driving to the basket, basically, or like trying to put my body on a defender, like, am I even playing basketball at that point? Or am I just like drawing for contact? And it's so obnoxious. That's a hill I will die on.
Yeah, the worst style of basketball. I think we did a whole like segment pretty recently, right? Where we're just like, you know, if you want to complain about the 3-ball, no. This is what will kill people's interest in basketball way quicker, because it's like, what's the point of watching this? But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Pistons. I mean, like you said, a surprise season. They were so bad last year, Jack.
They were really bad.
How have they turned it around?
I think it's one player. I think what it comes down to is somebody who got injured very early last season, and Cade Cunningham was an all-star this year, knew he was going to be a really good player, clearly took the time to hone his craft when he was healthy in the offseason, and came back looking better than ever. You know, like, he's a dude that leads that team. I think credit to Asar Thompson as well, who is, you know, playing also very well, like defensive on-ball pressure type of guy. They are a good team. They're just young. So you think about, from a consistency standpoint, how are they going to hold up in the playoffs? I don't know for very long, but it's going to be a really good experience for them to get in. What's nice is, as of right now, they are not in the play-in, so they don't have to worry about the nerves maybe of that. They've got a 7-game series to worry about first, and they can deal with that. Granted, you've got 3 teams with 38 wins, so it's gonna be a little like, we'll see what happens at the end of the year. And frankly, unless New York just like has a pretty shitty like last way to end their regular season, I think they're kind of locked in as the 3. So 4, 5, 6 are anybody's game depending on where they land. I don't think it's, I mean, quite frankly, like, you look at the 1 and 2 and even the 3 seed for some of these teams, and you're like, we're not beating them anyway. So it's sort of, okay, does it really matter? Again, maybe not. Depends on, maybe you're playing for a matchup if you're those bottom seeds. I think Detroit overall, though, Cade Cunningham really had a resurgence, obviously coming back from an injury and playing at an all-star caliber this year, which he has, I think, rightfully deserved for sure.
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the things that I don't like, that I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, well, wait till they get to the playoffs. They're not going to win a championship. It's like, they're building, you know, like they're trying to get better each year. They're not necessarily going to compete for a title this year. That's fine. They might win a series.
They might.
Or they might go to 7 in a series. Like, that's progress. So I think we've gotten a little out of whack with the, you know, rings are the only thing that matters. And the only thing you can find enjoyment in, you know?
So accurate. I think, you know, if you're a Detroit fan, you know that they're not going to win a championship this year. And if you think that, that's okay. Exactly. It's okay. You know what they're building towards. This will be a great experience for them. The average age on that roster has got to be like, I don't know, aside from Dennis Schroeder, probably like 22 years old, you know, like that's a win in and of itself, quite frankly. And they've got their oh man, I forgot his name already because he's been out of the picture for so long. But they have like Jalen Duren. Oh, Jaden Ivey is the one who's out, and he hurt himself at the beginning of the year, and he's been out since. So like that's another guy who's going to come back next year, hopefully have a sort of Cade Cunningham resurgence. let JB Bickerstaff kind of lead this team and direct this team from a maturity standpoint and say, okay, now maybe next year we have a little bit more of a real shot.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good way to look at it. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit of shit about the Heat.
Let's do it.
I figured you'd be up for it.
Of course.
So 29-39, 1-9 in their last 10, and losers of 8 straight. Obviously trading Jimmy Butler was bad for that, but like they have completely fallen off a cliff here, Jack.
They friendly reminder that Tyler Hero is an all-star over Derek White, so something to think about.
Right, good point.
Now, as their, would you say Tyler Hero is their best player? I guess probably no, him or Bam, right? Then probably tertiary is like Wiggins. Now Wiggins, which is a weird thing to think about. Still Wiggins on the Heat. Right. I don't know why. He does fit their scheme well, but like anyway, I'm so glad that now the Heat fans who the tweet that keeps resurging, and I'm sure you've seen it, is like oh, Celtics fans are sick. Like they got Kristaps and we're going to get Dame. Like that sucks for them. So now you don't have Dame. You don't have Jimmy. You're barely in the play and you're hanging on by a thread. You're going to have to win 2 games against one of the Hawks or the Magic as it stands right now. And you're not going to do that, quite frankly. I don't care. Like that team right now is sort of like, it's very dysfunctional. I know that is known, and I think it's satisfying to see that, though, right? There's a chance they may not even make the play-in, right? I'm rooting for the Raptors the rest of the way here. Don't get me wrong, 5.5 game spread between them and not making the playoffs at all, but even the play-in. But I mean, the validation that I would feel from the crap that they've talked over the last couple of years, and granted, they've earned it. They beat us in that 7-game series, right? But I feel like something about them, like they hate us. They really do not like Celtics fans. So
yeah, well, who does other than other Celtics fans? Sometimes. Okay.
Good point.
Sometimes we hit each other. Well.
That is true too. We're probably going to be number 1 after winning a championship too. So I get it.
Yeah, I'll never forget leaving the Garden one night after a Bruins game and 2 Bruins fans getting into a fight right in front of me. It was we won. What is happening?
That's hockey, man. That's different. Here, everybody's just going to shove each other and call each other names and then get separated by the ref. So.
Oh, man. All right. Anything else from the Eastern Conference that you wanted to touch on?
I think nothing too huge. I think will be interesting to see sort of where the Pacers and Bucks finish. I think just in general, right, they're still middle of the pack teams. Pacers obviously made the ECF run last year. Are they going to be able to recreate that? We'll see. Bucks, I think, let's see what Kuzma does. I haven't really seen enough out of him to really say, like, yeah, this is the missing piece. I don't know. That team, the Bucks, to me, feels sort of like a fading supernova a little bit. So I would take the Pistons over the Bucks, to be quite frank with you. So I think it'll be interesting to see, again, obviously playoff picture perspective. I think these seeds are all sort of like where they're going to generally be. I'm just excited to see how it plays out. The East is going to be my favorite because obviously we follow it closely, but I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, getting down to it, what's it, like 13 games left for the Celtics? Doing some quick mental math. That's nothing. It's about to be here, Jack.
Yeah, it is.
It's basically like March Madness ends and the playoffs begin.
Pretty much. And then the playoffs take the course of like 2 months. So there's a lot of good basketball to watch.
We'll be here.
We will be here. 2 months, guarantee you we'll do at least a show or 2.
Yeah, at least a couple. Not like last year where we fell off the face of the map despite the Celtics having a run. This year we're back.
We were too invested. That's fine. Right. We were too biased. We didn't want to curse your screens with it. It's fine. We're better. We've grown.
Absolutely. Jack, anything you want to plug before you get on out of here?
Best place to find me is on Twitter. I'll certainly be tweeting about all this stuff as we get into the playoff picture. You can find me on there at Jack_Tiernan. Also watch our other shows. We've got the Bayou Breakdown with Saints news for the NFL and Around the Diamond for all of our baseball news.
Yeah, we got to get another Around the Diamond going soon.
You're right.
And I don't know if you saw on Instagram, I posted that Cam Ward, the presumed first overall pick, said that it would be a dream to play for the Saints. So we'll see. Maybe the Saints will trade up. And
I wouldn't hate that.
That would be fun.
If we trade Derek Carr for that pick, I would die. I would take anything.
Yeah, so we got to keep an eye on that. I think Cam Ward is going to be a very exciting player.
Agreed.
And I think that'd be very exciting if he did go to the Saints, because, they need the next guy there, right? They
Yeah.
need, it's not Derek Carr. They
No.
tried, it's not Derek Carr.
Nope, that contract is going to lapse. So agreed. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so we'll see there. As for me, follow the main channel where you get everything. I just put a video talking about the college basketball video games and why we need another one now that we're in the world of NIL, and what happened to make those go away in the first place. A little history there. And then, our other channels are Those Fake Nerds, which is like this channel, but about video games and movies, pop culture. And our podcasting channel is Better Radio right now. Survivor's on. So we were covering Survivor with the Blindsiders. We just finished up The Traders, the first season. We covered that. Very successful. So a lot of fun. So please go check all of those out. And other than that, Jack, thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you all in the next one. Everyone, welcome back to Wicked Sports. This is Around the Diamond. We're joined by Chris Uminski to talk a little bit about the Dodgers and Cubs Tokyo series. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Brian. Baseball's back, baby.
Baseball is back. Well, first, I want to get your opinion here. How do you feel about baseball opening their season in another country? I know they've done this for years now, but is it odd to you?
I mean, I guess it isn't as weird now. And all of the leagues have been experimenting, playing in other countries, trying to expand their markets. And Japan is particularly well positioned for Major League Baseball. So I don't have an opinion on whether it should have been in the States or not, but I like the idea of the Tokyo series just as a general thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you put the Dodgers out there with Shohei Ohtani. That's huge. He's the biggest star in the baseball world, not just Tokyo, not just the U.S., but everywhere. So it makes sense. It's good there. But I guess let's get to the actual game. So the Dodgers, it says swept. They won 2 games. I don't know. I feel like sweep, you got to have at least like 3 games, right? But yeah, they won the 2 games over your Cubs. How are you feeling about these matchups? How are you feeling about the Cubs so far?
Well, I opened the first game was rough to watch. I'm a Dodgers hater. I always have been. I always will be. But yeah, Shohei Ohtani hit a home run. That's, of course, very exciting for everyone in Japan. It was the first. I didn't realize this. It was the first all Japanese starting pitcher lineups. Like the first time the 2 Japanese starting pitchers were on opening day.
That is that's surprising. I guess maybe not, because usually there's like 1 or 2 in the league at all, right? So like now there's more, and just sense that this would happen eventually, but hasn't happened before.
Yeah, and in game 1, like Shota Imanaga, he had a pretty good game. He had four scoreless innings. He only walked 4. And he had no hits either. But like the Dodgers have a guy like Shohei Ohtani who's just gonna open up. They're a super team combined with everybody else on that lineup. Mookie Betts is on that lineup, but he missed both of those games. Very, very sad for them. But overall, like, I thought the Cubs looked pretty good in game 1.
What about yesterday's game, the 6-3 win for the Dodgers? How'd you feel about that one?
I felt a little bit worse about that one. They did try to make a rally there at the end, but it was just the first couple of innings of that game were just really difficult to watch. You wake up at 6. You're waking up at 5:30 in the morning to watch a 6 a.m. start time Eastern Standard or daylight. But it was that game was not fun to watch.
Yeah, that is one of the really tough things about these games. If your team isn't it like yours was, I mean, it's tough enough for the East Coast. Imagine you're like in Chicago, another hour behind, or in like the West Coast, and it's like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Like, what are you supposed to do there, Chris?
I guess that's true. This is usually the East Coast gets screwed in these sorts of deals, but we can count ourselves lucky, I guess, that I wasn't
Oh
one
man.
of them.
So now the Cubs come back and they're going back to spring training, which is also super weird. Quirk of everything. What are you looking for in these last 4 games from spring training?
I guess I'm looking for none of our starters to be doing anything at all. Just work the minor leaguers, work the prospects, maybe give some of the bullpen guys some reps, but right now rest your starters. Get them ready to start the season. It's gonna be an interesting season. The way that it started, 0-2.
Yeah. A week from today, first game in the States against the Diamondbacks. How are you feeling about that opening 4 game series against the Diamondbacks?
I'm feeling okay about that series. The Diamondbacks are a good team. But we have the advantage. I guess you could call it an advantage that the spring training squad will already be rested and in Arizona. They're not going to be jet lagged. I wonder if we play that squad at least for game 1. Who knows what's gonna happen there? I wish I could see what the sort of idea was going to be, but the Diamondbacks are a good team. They were second in the West last year. But the Cubs are looking competitive, if I do say so myself, based on those spring training games that I went to, based on what I watched the last couple of days in Japan. Like, yeah, they lost both games, and game 2 kind of sucked, but they were at least competitive throughout. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, but for both the Cubs and the Diamondbacks. I don't really know too much about their team.
Yeah, no, we need to get an Arizona Diamondbacks specialist one day. One day we have someone for every team
Right.
of every league, but not today, of course. But yeah, anything else you wanted to add to this one before we get on out of here?
Nope, I think that's it. Baseball's back. Go Cubbies.
Yes, baseball is back. Very exciting. We'll be here covering it on the segment Around the Diamond. And Chris, anything you want to plug?
I guess I'm on Twitter still. They haven't kicked me off yet at Chris Uminski. Still on TikTok too. That's I think Chris_Uminski. One of those handles. I'm in a band as well, Basics Plus. We have shows coming up in April. Check us out April 12th at JJ's in Florence and April 25th at the Hotel Vernon in Worcester. Go check us out on all the places you get your music.
Awesome. Yes, please go check Chris and his band out on all those places. And Chris, thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Wicked Good Sports. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, I am traveling, so it'll be probably a little bit more difficult to do the show, especially in this format. It might be more live streams, but if you want a lot of content while I'm potentially away, check out my TikTok, Wicked Good Sports. That's a much easier platform to make stuff. I just need my phone and a little DJI mic, and I can make some pretty decent content there through the app. So check it out. TikTok, Wicked Good Sports. Other than that, check out our main channel, Wicked Everything, our nerdy news channel, Those Fake Nerds, and our podcasting channel, Better Radio. Have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next one.